Because what Kevin Stefanski did is actually par for the course. I know a lot of fans don't want to hear it. I know a lot of fans don't know about it.
Shedeur Sanders suffered an oblique injury in early drills. He was shut down for the rest of...
Something's not adding up in Cleveland. Shedeur Sanders just delivered one of the most electric quarterback performances of the preseason. And yet, with the spotlight squarely on him, he's suddenly out. The official reason? A minor injury. But insiders are whispering something very different, and fans aren't buying the narrative. Why would a rising star be benched just as the pressure was building for him to take over? Why is the Browns coaching staff downplaying his role when even analysts are calling for him to lead the offense? There's more to this story. Power moves, internal conflict, and a potential trade that could shake up the NFL.
Of the mind proved to me that you can do it. But he proved in one game that he could do it, so much so that they now have to give him the chance.
The report dropped like a bombshell. Shedeur Sanders was injured, an oblique issue, the Browns claimed. He was pulled from drills and promptly shut down. On the surface, it sounded routine. Just soreness, they said. Nothing serious. But the timing, that's where things got suspicious. According to sources close to Sanders, this wasn't new. In fact, he's played through this exact issue before, with zero setbacks. And not just played, but dominated. His poise, accuracy, and leadership under pressure had already turned heads. So why now? Why bench him when he's finally gaining momentum? Fans noticed something off immediately. Sanders showed no visible signs of pain, no sluggish movement, no decline in performance. The man was red hot. And just like that, he's pulled.
We know how the game goes. But then he starts talking about the offense, right? 0 giveaways. Okay, this is when you're supposed to insert Shedeur, some fans think. Let's talk.
Some believe it's just caution. Others, they're not so sure. Because when you zoom out, it looks less like injury management and more like strategic silence. A way to cool off the media buzz. A way to pull the plug without facing backlash. But this wasn't the end of the confusion. It was only the beginning. Just days after Sanders' injury, the Browns dropped their updated depth chart. And that's when eyebrows really started to raise. Despite putting on the best quarterback performance of the entire preseason, Sanders wasn't just left out of the starting conversation. He was listed 4th. Let that sink in. He outperformed every other QB on the roster. He moved the offense with confidence, avoided turnovers, and gave the Browns something they've desperately needed: control at the quarterback position. And still, 4th string?
Like my coach just said in college, hey, find something that he can do. So you keep telling me what Shedeur can't do? Well, your job as a coach is to put players in position and find something that they can do.
Here's where things get even stranger. 2 of the quarterbacks listed ahead of him were injured. They couldn't even take the field. Yet Sanders, fully active just days before, still couldn't crack the top 3. This wasn't just confusing. It looked calculated. Fans were furious. Analysts couldn't make sense of it. Everyone wanted to know, what exactly is Kevin Stefanski doing? He says he's focused on developing all quarterbacks. But his decisions seem to be doing the exact opposite, freezing out the only one showing real promise. And then, just when it felt like the situation couldn't get any more bizarre, it did. Right as fans began demanding answers, the Browns doubled down, and not in the way anyone expected. Stefanski suddenly announced that Sanders wouldn't be part of their plans for the upcoming preseason game. No warning, no explanation, just a sharp pivot and another mention of that injury.
And he looked like a guy that should be getting opportunity to say, no, you're actually not good enough. If I were the Browns, he would be getting reps with the starters this week. I felt like going into the game, if he played a certain way, that would be the case. He should getting reps with the starters this week, and he should, I always say it this way, prove to me you can't do it. Prove to me you can't do it. And so far, he has not.
Only this time, the injury line felt like a convenient shield, almost too convenient. Sources close to the team started whispering about internal pressure. The media spotlight was growing. Fans were chanting Sanders' name. Sports networks were running segments demanding he get first-team reps. The moment was building, and just like that, he was out of the picture. What started as whispers turned into widespread speculation. Was this a matter of protecting Sanders from injury? Or was the coaching staff protecting their own narrative? The numbers didn't lie. He'd earned more reps. But the decisions being made ignored performance entirely. Instead of capitalizing on the buzz, the Browns went silent. No explanations, no transparency. Just a vague label of arm soreness and an erasure from the weekly plans. That's when it became clear. This wasn't just about football anymore. The silence from the Browns didn't last long.
There will be no media attention like should he be the starter, Stafford's there. And for the Rams, it gives you a chance to maybe have an answer at quarterback, even if it's a long shot, after this year, if this does end up being Stafford's last year. And if you're the Browns, if you spent a fifth on Shedeur and just trade him for a fourth, you won.
Dan Orlovsky, a respected voice in the NFL world, went on national television and said what everyone else was thinking. Why isn't Shedeur Sanders getting real reps? He didn't sugarcoat it. He called out Stefanski by name and demanded accountability. If Sanders isn't good enough, Orlovsky argued, prove it. But if you can't, then let the kid ball. That phrase struck a nerve because Sanders already had proven it. On the field, under pressure, with cameras rolling, he delivered. And yet, here was a coach pretending like none of that mattered. Other analysts joined in. Headlines started circling. Twitter was in chaos. Gabrielle Union, Deion Sanders, even former players were chiming in. The message was clear. No one believed this injury narrative anymore. And what did Coach Stefanski do in response? He didn't fire back. He didn't defend his decision with data. Instead, he leaned deeper into the excuse, saying that Sanders would be out indefinitely with soreness.
That compete block, that's it. And guess what? That block that we just got completed with that practice versus them with this game tonight, this football team got better. This football team got better this entire week by stacking these days, by competing versus them out there in the practice.
The situation surrounding Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns has raised more questions than answers. Despite delivering one of the best quarterback
By then, the fans had heard enough. This wasn't strategy. It looked like sabotage. Fans had been patient. At first, it was confusion, then concern. But now, it was outrage. After Sanders had proven himself, after he worked through so-called soreness, and still got sidelined without explanation, the narrative shifted hard. Supporters flooded social media, calling for the Browns to either play him or trade him immediately. Set him free. One viral tweet read, "Get him out while he still has value." And it wasn't just noise. There was real momentum behind it. NFL insider Mick Wright reported that Sanders himself had quietly requested a transfer if the situation didn't change. The message? If they're not going to let him compete, let him go somewhere that will. That's when one name started floating around the league: the Los Angeles Rams. Not only could the Rams give Sanders a pressure-free environment to grow behind Matthew Stafford, but with Stafford possibly on his final NFL chapter, it could be the perfect bridge to a new era. And suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about a quarterback controversy in Cleveland anymore. It was about a potential fresh start in LA and a power shift that would leave the Browns with serious regrets. But Cleveland wasn't ready to give up that easily. Just when it seemed like Shedeur Sanders was halfway out the door, things took a surprising turn. From the top, reports surfaced that Browns owner Jimmy Haslam wasn't happy. Not with the media chaos, not with the trade rumors, and definitely not with how Stefanski was handling the team's most talked about player. Behind closed doors, Haslam had seen enough. He was fully aware of the buzz Sanders generated, not just among fans, but nationally. According to insiders, he began backing Sanders internally, questioning why the young quarterback hadn't been given a fair shot when the team had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Now Stefanski, once in total control, was backed into a corner. The locker room was reportedly split. The front office was growing tense, and Stefanski suddenly had to answer not just to fans or the media, but to the very top of his organization. For the first time, the head coach's job security quietly entered the conversation. What started as a questionable coaching decision had snowballed into full-blown franchise drama. The spotlight wasn't just on Sanders anymore, it was burning straight down on Stefanski. And it was about to get even hotter. At face value, this could have been a simple injury story, but every move the Browns made only deepened the mystery. Why would a team desperate for quarterback consistency treat a breakout performer like a burden? Why create tension in the locker room, frustrate the fan base, and risk alienating the very player electrifying the preseason? The timing of the injury, the fourth-string placement, the silence, the excuses, nothing felt right. Analysts started poking holes in the narrative, questioning whether this was about more than football. Was it personal bias, power struggle, or something bigger, like internal friction between Stefanski and the front office? Some rumors even suggest Stefanski never wanted Sanders drafted in the first place, that the pick came from higher up. And if that's true, then this entire saga isn't about talent or readiness. It's about control. If Sanders were to succeed on a bigger stage, it'd validate the decisions made above Stefanski. And that's a storyline no head coach wants to be caught on the wrong end of. It's no longer a matter of capability. It's politics. And Shedeur Sanders? He's become the unwilling centerpiece of a franchise power struggle. But not all hope is lost. With tensions boiling over in Cleveland and leadership divided, one solution stood out: a clean break. And out of all the possible trade destinations, the Los Angeles Rams quickly emerged as the most realistic and the most enticing. For Sanders, it's the perfect setup. He wouldn't be thrown directly into a starting role, and he wouldn't face the same pressure cooker environment he's dealing with in Cleveland. He'd have time to develop behind a seasoned veteran like Matthew Stafford, a Super Bowl champion with nothing left to prove and possibly just one more year left in the tank. For the Rams, it's low risk, high upside. They could grab a potential franchise quarterback while still giving Stafford his final run. And for Sanders, it's freedom, a fresh start without whispers, politics, or gatekeeping. Even the business side makes sense. The Browns used a 5th-round pick on Sanders. If they can flip him for a 4th, that's a gain on paper. Something a front office can justify, even if the fan base doesn't love it. But this solution raises one more question no one in Cleveland seems willing to ask out loud. If the Browns let Shedeur Sanders walk, how long before they regret it? The situation surrounding Shedeur Sanders isn't just about a player being benched. It's about how talent is handled or mishandled in plain sight. He came into Cleveland with expectations low and pressure high. He responded the only way a quarterback should, by showing up and delivering. And yet somehow, that performance wasn't enough to secure even a fair shot. Instead, fans were handed an injury story, then a depth chart demotion, then a mysterious silence from the very coach responsible for building winners. Meanwhile, respected voices in the football world are screaming the obvious: give the kid a chance. But now, that opportunity may come elsewhere. A franchise like the Rams could unlock Sanders' growth without all the Cleveland chaos. And if he flourishes, every missed rep, every sidelined moment, every excuse from Stefanski will age like milk. The Browns still have time to course correct. But if they don't, they might just hand the NFL its next breakout star on a silver platter to another team. So now, we want to hear from you. Is Shedeur Sanders being unfairly held back by the Browns? Was the injury just an excuse? And would a move to LA actually be the best thing for his career? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This story is far from over. But one thing's clear: